We are discussing chapter number 4, Globalization and the Indian economy. Now the question arises, what is globalization? Globalization, this word has come from globe. There are a number of countries in this world around the globe. All these countries, when they are kind of integrated in terms of trade, in terms of transaction, in terms of ayat, niryat, import, export. So a large part of the foreign trade is controlled by MNC, as we have already seen, multinational corporations. And the result of this great foreign trade from one country to another and third country like this has been greater foreign trade. This greater integration of production and market across the countries has taken place. When there is lot of foreign trade, these countries also, they get kind of integrated because of the production is going on, because the market is here, or the production may not be here, but the market here is here. So there is a kind of integration, ekikaran. So globalization is the process of rapid integration or interconnection between the countries. Again, globalization is the process of rapid integration or interconnection between the countries. So these MNCs, again, they are playing a vital role, a major role in the globalization process, and this is only possible because of the companies going to different countries and opening their setups and industries and providing services. More and more goods and services, investment and technologies are moving between different countries. So globalization, again, let me tell you again, globalization is the process of rapid integration or interconnection between the countries, and more goods and services, investments and technology, they are moving between the countries. What factors or karak that have enabled the globalization? See, first of all, the factors that have enabled the globalization is, if you see here, I'll just give you an example. This is the containers for transport of good. Now the transport of material from one place to another, one country to another, can take place in no time using the surface transport, that means the ship or waterways, or it can be through the airlines. So now the time of transferring the stuff or goods from one place to another is not that much. So rapid development or improvement in technology is a factor, and that has a major impact or major factor that has actually stimulated or grown the globalization. For instance, in the past 50 years, there has been various improvement, as I just suggested, in the transportation technology. Previously, the transportation was quite trivial. Now the transportation of goods and services are quite faster because of all the thanks to the technological improvement or transportation technological improvement. And also this ICT, this is very important. This has an impact. Even more remarkable, a factor for the development of the globalization is ICT, that is information and communication technology. So technologies in the area of telecommunication, the computers, the internet have been changing rapidly. Now we have 4G, we are going to 5G. So the data, the services, the communication is quite easy, and the communication between different countries can be done using the satellite. So satellite is also a very important, say, a technological development that has actually made this world like a family. Everyone can talk, everyone can see, the trading can be done easily. So these are the factors that have enabled the globalization. So the information and technology, communication technology, as I just suggested, ICT, computer, electronics, everything is now, you can talk, like you can just send email to anyone. All the content you can talk, within no time it can be sent, just a press of button. Then you can have a voicemail, you can have a WhatsApp call, you can have a Skype call. All these are only possible because of the ICT this information and communication technology. I will just give you a simple example that you understand what I spoke with an example. See, there is a news magazine published for London. This is published for London and London readers, and it is designed and printed in New Delhi, in Delhi. So the text of the magazine is sent from London to Delhi office. The designer here at the Indian office or Delhi office get orders on how it needs to be designed, the magazine, from the London officials, and this is all done through telecommunication facilities. And the designing is done on the computer here, the computer, again an ICT. And after the printing has been done, the magazine, when it is prepared, when it is created, it is sent to London using the airways, that is through the airlines, right? And the amount being paid from London to India is just by a click of the button, that is internet banking or e-banking. So you have now seen the usage of ICT, that as a magazine which is to be sent to London is being published here without any problem, because all the ICT technologies. Now when you have a small kid in your house, what do? Whenever you go outside, you lock the door properly, okay? You keep someone with him. That is, you restrict certain things so that anything bad should not happen to your kid or anybody else, You keep restrictions. You have all the restrictions. Now, here, what happens is when your kid grows older, you liberalize. You can say, the restrictions you have used, you try to unstrengthen them. This is the liberalization. And when it comes to trade, liberalization of foreign trade and foreign investment policy says what? The tax, whenever someone is coming, say this is country 1, this is country 2. Whenever someone is coming in your country, say this is India. Someone is coming, tax on the imports is an example of a barrier which you placed for your kid. That is a trade barrier. This is called a barrier because it is a restriction. You are restricting someone. So if someone comes to your country trying to do trade, and if you put restriction of the tax on the imports, this is a restriction, avrodhak. So the government can use this avrodhak or barriers to increase or decrease the foreign trade. If the government doesn't want something to come or to be imported, it will impose heavy duty, heavy tax. And if it does want the content to come or the import to come, it will just, you can say, ease out the restriction or ease out the tax, right? So what kind of goods should come, what shouldn't come, the tax can be employed on them. The Indian government, when we've got independence, has some barrier here. India has a lot of barriers, and this was quite necessary because India just got independence. There were producers in India. They wanted to, everyone was just starting. So within the country, there shouldn't be any foreign competition, because if the foreign competition is there, the indigenous producers, indigenous industrialists, indigenous workers, they will be faced with unnecessary competition. So it became very important to seclude the government, like your father has secluded you. Similarly, the India was secluded or restricted from the foreign trade, and this was necessary at that time. Now, 1991, there was a liberalization. 1950s, 1960s, it started, means all the restriction, etc. Only the important item like machinery, fertilizers, and petroleum were only imported. But starting in 1991, the liberalization started. The government now thought that now our industrialists and the producers, now they are ready to face the world. So barrier to foreign trade and foreign investment was removed to a large extent, or you can say the barriers were eased out. That means that goods now can be imported from another country and exported also to the foreign companies. The companies can come here, set up their offices here, set up their karyalay and factories. So removing these barriers and restrictions set by the government is called as liberalization. Again, removing barriers or restrictions set by the government is what is called the liberalization, right? So tax and imports is a trade barrier. When we ease out the tax on the imports or exports, then we say the trade barrier is eased out or removed. So removing this barrier and restriction is liberalization. Now the government imposes much less restriction than before, and it is therefore called as liberal government. And the liberal government, when you have a liberal government, the people, the industrialists, the MNCs can come to your country. Now they have to face less kind of paperwork, less tax. So now they are ready to help your economy by industries establishment, by institutional obligation, and providing employment to the people out here. Coming to World Trade Organization, which is called as WTO. So we have seen that the liberalization of foreign trade and investment in India was supported by some very powerful international organizations. And these organizations say that all the foreign trade and the foreign investment are quite harmful. Like the countries which are already developed, they find it is very difficult for them to come to India or the countries like India to actually do the foreign investment and to work here. So WTO, this trade organization, Vishwa Vyapar Sangathan, is one such organization whose main aim is to liberalize the international trade. Now WTO is working to liberalize the foreign trade for all the countries around the world. But the reality is, that is, WTO is supposed to allow free trade for everyone, one country to another country. But in practice, because this WTO was established, or you can say the founding members were the developed countries already. So they were developed countries. Now these developed countries has unfairly retained trade barriers. That is, say United States. Say United States had already kept the barrier, and now these countries want India and other countries, developing countries, to ease out the barriers. That means they can easily come and do the trade here, but those people who want or the industrialists, or those you can say the MNCs, they want to go here and work, the barriers are still there. So this is you need to know. So what is the impact of globalization in India? It is everything has a good or a bad, right? So what is the impact of globalization in India? And you can just say it for any other country which is developing country. It can be any developing country. So in the last few years, 20 years, globalization of Indian economy has came a long way, and the globalization, and there is a greater competition among the producers. Globalization means if this is your country, the other country product can come here. Now you have to face the indigenous people, have to face the competition from others. So globalization and greater competition among the producers, both this is local and this is the foreign one. So both local and foreign producers have been advantage for consumers, because now consumers, as we saw about the toys, that China and India both are having the toys in Indian market, and the consumers can take any of them. So they have all the possibilities, options. That is, anyone can take. But what we have seen actually is the well-off situation, the urban people, the people living in the urban area and who are well-off, they are rich, quite rich. The you can say upper middle and rich class. So these people today, they actually enjoy the higher standards of living that was not very possible earlier. So MNCs has increased their investment in India, as we see, over past few years, namely 20 to 30 years, which means investing in India is quite beneficial for them. So several of the top Indian companies, they have also been benefited from the increased competition, because they have become a part of that MNCs, or they are having, say, collective work with the coming industries. And globalization has enabled some large Indian companies to emerge as MNCs themselves. So there are companies in India who has emerged as MNCs because of this globalization. Now these MNCs, a country say we have Reliance, we have Mahindra and Mahindra, we have, say, Adani Group. Now they have all the other countries where they have established industries and they are working. Okay, various countries their establishment is there. So Indian companies have benefited from this globalization. So globalization has created new opportunities for companies providing services also, particularly IT. India, especially the places like Hyderabad, the Bangalore, the Punes and the Gurgaon and Noidas, they have become the actual IT hub. So now they are providing a lot to Indian economy. So we have to understand that. I'll just share a kind of story. So now we are ready to invest. So this guy is saying why we are interested to work here. See, in order to attract the foreign trade, foreign companies, the various countries like India, they establish Indian special industrial zones, and these are called as special economic zones, SEZs. Now these SEZs are well equipped, world class, with all the facilities of electricity, water, roads, transport, storage, recreation and educational facilities. And for 5 years, if a company is coming, they don't have to pay any tax. So this kind of flexibility, this kind of opportunities which are given to the foreign companies, this will allow them to come, and in very short period, because they need labor, and labor will come from the Indian society only. They want some resources, and resources will come from the Indian economy only. And also the labor laws can be made flexible so that these people can actually hire them, and the most important part, which is not very fortunate, is fire them. So there is a rising competition, especially for those who are not the MNCs of India, or you can say the small producers, those who are just making small stuff like the MSME, right? MSME, and those who are not very large producing companies, or which are very small producers or small you can say the companies, they have faced immense competition because of the MNCs and the Indian origin companies which have actually overtook the market. So this is how the things are taking shape. So this is a, you can say, a disadvantage of globalization. So if we have seen about the toys, that these toys are coming from China, and Indian customers are going for the Chinese toys, and the Indian producers, they are not able to sell their product because they are not able to produce like that, right? So various people are getting jobless, and especially those in the organized as well as unorganized, especially in unorganized sector. So here is an example of how this competition, because of the MNCs and because of the different companies coming to the developed from the developed country to the developing country, and how they are in cheap rate, in a very very good manner, good quality, they are providing to the consumers of that country. So when it is giving you in less price and in good quality, the people are going to buy Levi's, they are going to buy Adidas, they are not going to buy the indigenous product. So this is how the garment worker and various other people who are facing the competition are losing jobs, and a lot of different small scale industries are on the verge of closing. So there is a struggle for a fair globalization. That means when the globalization is happening, some people are getting all of the profit, some people are not getting the profit share. So the struggle for a fair globalization is always good, but there has to be a fair, justified globalization. So people with educational skill, who have learned, who have done their engineering, medical, etc., and they are having wealth, they have made the best use of these new opportunities which have grown up or come up because of the globalization. But if you see, on the other hand, there are various people who have not shared the benefits, who are not getting the benefits. So we need to have fair globalization. So this fair globalization would create opportunities for everyone, every single person who is marginalized also, and also will ensure that the benefits of globalization are shared better among everyone. So now the government has to play a role. Its policies must protect the interest not only for rich, because they are getting it, and the powerful, but also who are not getting it, that is all people in the country. So it can support small producers to improve their performance, because as we see, because of the globalization and increased competition, the various industries, small scale industries and small projects, they are just finishing up or vanishing, or they are on the verge of closing. So the government has to support this producer to improve their performance till the time they become more stronger enough to compete the competition. So it is necessary the government can use the trade barriers. And in past few years, massive campaigns and representatives by the people organization have influenced various decisions relating to trade and investment at the WTO, World Trade Organization, because everyone has to see the WTO that they should work in the favor of the developed country also, not only in the favor of developed country. So this has demonstrated that people also can play an important role in the struggle for globalization, especially fair globalization. So this is the justice they are asking for. So what we have seen in this discussion is that globalization especially started with the MNC, multinational companies. Multinational companies are those companies who have established, who have offices, who have industries or services not only in one country but more than one country. So because of this, the technology, particularly IT and various other technological development, has increased the scope of the globalization. And then we talked about the liberalization in India. It took place from 1991, and because the barriers have been eased, now there is greater level of interaction between the countries and the import and export. Now WTO is an organization which has all the possibility of restricting or imposing the barrier. So it is specially saying that the less barrier it is, less good the transaction or the foreign trade and foreign investment will be there. And the basic thing is, because of the various competition going on there, the developed country is facing a kind of tough competition, and there is not a justified output from the globalization. So everyone has to get equal share, and the government and the WTO and everyone, one of us, has to work for that. So this is all about this topic. Thank you so much and take care of yourself.